Hi, Larry. I love your show.
Hello, boys and girls.
Hi.
What a wonderful day it is today in our money-based economy. Well, sit back and relax and get ready for the guy who's about to ruin everything.
Bill Gates world?
Are you really seriously suggesting that Jesus Christ was a mushroom?
Wait, Jesus was a mushroom Roberts.
Yes.
What?
You are dealing with a secret cult,
What?
a secret society.
Get out.
Welcome to Waning Interest.
Welcome to the Waning Interest Podcast, hour number 72. May 9th, 2020. May 9th, and we missed the 4th. May the 8th be with you. Welcome to Bill Gates world. Hey, how about a vaccine? No, thank you. Happy Mother's Day. It'll be, when this goes out, it'll be the 10th of May, 2020. Said that? Shh. Yep. So, hey, repetitiveness. This is sort of radio. Sort of a podcast. Thank you, Kimura. And Circle K Milk. So happy Mother's Day. Even if you're not listening to this on Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. Even if you're not the mother. Way to fuck up a punchline. Yeah. Even if you're not a mother, you are a motherfucker. Wow! I got it out. You know why? Because I'm wearing my Junkyard Hollywood t-shirt. That's why. Thank you. Moving on. Junkyard put out a new tune. Fuck yeah, Rome is burning. Pretty cool. It's chunky enough. It's, it grew on me quick, but I will say it's not what I said. Yeah, I'll just say what I said before. It's not chunky enough. It's got a lot of chunk, but not enough to do the truffle shuffle. Hello. What is that noise? Oh my God, I think there's a squirrel on the roof. Hey, the Waning Interest Podcast Studios, live from the shed in Gator Country. I tried to start this podcast 4 times, but every fucking time I went to hit record, it sounded like a dirt bike race was starting a mile down the street. Every fucking time. I'm hearing something again, but it's quieter. Got off the phone with my my little one, my 19-year-old little one. So at the recording of this, it's actually the 9th. It's not the 10th yet, so it's not Mother's Day yet. But, you know, I taught my kid well. Last minute, fuck yeah. Wait till that creativity hits you. Bam! So I hope my thoughts on the addition of the painting that she's doing for her mother and her friends are doing for their mothers. Mother. Oh, I don't remember the next line. Thank you, Danzig. Whatever. So I hope my my idea lands. And I think it will. It always fucking does, you know what I'm saying? Hey! Time for a drink. You know what happened to me just recently? I'm talking within the last 30 minutes. I was friend requested on Facebook by Wes A. Macaulay, 2 C's, the Mushroom Man. I don't know how it happens, because it's not like I'm friends with a whole bunch of psilocybers. Just a good handful, at least those that are out of the closet that I would know of. But it's probably once every 2 weeks. For some reason, I get a friend request and I never take it, because it's usually somebody with like 6 friends or 12 friends, or, you know. I get a request from somebody that has something to do with mushrooms or weed. How about you? Like I give a shit. Of course I do. I just can't answer. Well, I could if you emailed me at waninginterestpodcast@gmail.com. You can do that. Or we're at the Twitter. Interest waning. Waning with a Y, obviously. My old Twitter handle that's still up. Anybody new who hasn't heard this before, I don't have access to. Something about the C word. But I have the interest waning. Well, I would think, though, when you get booted, that nobody can see your shit at all. You're just gone. But my shit's still there. I just don't have access to it. So you can actually go to Wayne Roberts 811 and go, and then I guess you wouldn't see the Reese Witherspoon tweet. But, well, you would if you were a Facebook friend. Of course, I posted it over there. Whee! I waited to do it in a comment because I didn't want it extracted. I didn't want the same thing to happen on Facebook, so I waited for somebody. I didn't post it like on a post. I waited for somebody to ask what it was about, and I went, boom. Then I posted the screenshot. Whatever. Are we moving on again? No, there's a race. Another race. Hear it? Probably not, because my Rode Podcaster microphone is so excellent. All you should hear is me. You know, I've been doing this a year, and Heather Locklear has been sober for a year. Which one is real? Oh, speaking of Heather Locklear, I wanted to do this the last 2 fucking podcasts, and I rambled and bambled and slambled, and it's all about this, it's all about that. And where is the thing on my H-rate? There it is. I've been wanting to do this. And I'm going to finally do it now. I was going to save it, but I figured I wouldn't get to it. Okay. Hey, ever tell you the system ain't broke? It works exactly how it's supposed to for the oligarchs. Whatever. All right, I wanted to do this. We got to hit this one first. Go to link. Yes, thank you. And then we're going to go to this one. It's really funny because I posted it. I posted this on, I tweeted it and I put it on Facebook about 2-3 weeks ago, I guess. And then just the other day, when I've been wanting to do it on the podcast, but I kept running out of time. But a couple of days ago, I don't know who it was, but somebody tweeted something about all-time favorite theme songs. So, of course, I replied with the fucking Fall Guy, man. The Fall Guy theme. So right now, what I'm going to let you do is go to YouTube and type in, of course, the Fall Guy, and it'll come up, Fall Guy theme. But go to the one that says 2 minutes and 40 seconds, which has an extra verse on it. Okay? And then you can, of course, be pausing this or whatever, but we're going to sing along. Okay? That's what we're going to fucking do here. We're going to have a little sing along. So do the 241. And I know to all of us, most people, well, you know, some of you whips are pretty fucking sharp, so of course you are. You're a whip. Anyway, you will probably already know the extra verse that wasn't in the open for the TV show, but it was on an album that they put out in the single, whatever, that bullshit. But anyway, you got it up, 240, and then, of course, open up a new link that type in, of course, Fall Guy theme lyrics. So you have all the lyrics. And the one I'm at is lyricsreg.com. Okay. Isn't this getting tasty? It is, because we're about to sing, bitches. It's going to be the whip version of karaoke all the way across the bridge. I'm making this up as I go. just like fucking Indiana Jones, bitches. Ooh. Oh, no, it's just a zit. All right, hold on. Let's go. All right. You ready? So, get ready for the YouTube. Of course, you can have your lyrics open on another tip. But get to the 240, get it all the way to the front, and I'm about to hit play in 3, 2, 1. And then turn your headphones down a little bit, because that's loud, bitch. Well, I'm not the kind to kiss and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah. I've never been with anything less than a 9. So fine. I've been on fire with Sally Field, gone off with a girl named Bo. But somehow they just don't end up as mine. It's a death-defying life I lead. I take my chances. I die for living in the movies and TV. I lightened it up a bit. But the hardest thing I ever do is watch my leading ladies kiss some other guy while I'm bandaging my knees. Oh boy, I might fall from a tall building. I might roll a brand new car. 'Cause I'm the unknown stuntman that made Redford such a star. Making you think of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt, huh? Fuck yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've never spent much time in school, but I've taught ladies plenty. It's true, I hire my body out for pay. Hey, hey, I've gotten burned over Cheryl Teague's, blown up for Raquel Welch. But when I wind up in the hay, it's only hay. Hey, hey, I might jump an open drawbridge or Tarzan from a vine. 'Cause I'm the unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine. Here's that extra verse. They'll never make me president, but I've got the best first ladies. Some days I've got 'em as far as the eye can see. Ooh-wee, a morning dive with Jackie Smith. I crash in the night with Cheryl, but in the end they never stay with me. Oh boy, I might fall from a tall building so Burt Reynolds don't get hurt. I might leap a mighty canyon so he can kiss and flirt. While that smooth talker's kissing my girl, I'm kissing dirt. Yes, I'm the only stuntman that made lover out of bird. Shit, I kind of fucked up that last little piece, but hey, man. That was some badass shit right there. You didn't expect that shit. You didn't expect old Wanus, Anus, Mr. fucking Plainus to be whipping out that golden pipes of singing some massively cool theme song to a television show starring a $6 million or $1 trillion man. Lee Majors was a badass, man. He had fucking Farrah Fawcett. Before Ryan O'Neal, he had Firsty Six. I don't know what that means. I never thought of what comes before Sloppy Seconds, so Firsty Six. I don't know what Firsty Six is, but you know what? I'm a trendsetter. Thank you, Rodney fucking Rude. Trendsetters. If you've never heard Rodney Rude, another little plug, even though the Waning Interest podcast has no ads, I pimp the shit out of a lot of great stuff, like Rodney Rude. A lot of you folks definitely don't know who the fuck he is. But luckily, there's the YouTube. I first learned about him when we had this awful, disgusting Australian exchange student. I'm totally joking. She's the coolest, and we're still friends to this day. I told the story, I think, on another podcast about she still has the gift, the Miller sign, I think, that I sent over, and still has it since 1989. Do you know how many years that is? Hurry up, do the math, because I ain't. What was the fucking point? I think she brought over, either she just talked about it when she was here in our senior year. She mentioned a few Rodney Rude jokes, but she may have brought a cassette. I can't recall that part. But what I do remember is when I went over there and was there for 5 months, I got a hold of a couple of cassettes that I would listen to literally. There was 2 of them, I think, and I listened to them every fucking day for over a month because I was had nothing else to do. And it was a great way to start the morning. Some Australian cannabis, some Australian coffee, and a little Rodney Rude. But not only was he funny, there was a reason that he was famous in Australia because, they only have the amount of people in Texas, but they have the same amount of country that we do. So it's easier. Wusses. Just kidding. It was easy to see why he was so funny. I mean, why he was such a big star over there. He was fucking funny, but one of the things that the extras that drew me to him was he kind of sounded like my uncle, my younger uncle on my mom's side. The party animal. My biggest influence. Dude had a broken back at 18 or 19, and I was crawling on his, he was in a body cast way back in the day, in the early 70s, whatever, that other century. And because I've heard it so many times, I sort of have a memory of crawling on top of the body cast, but whatever. Point being, party animal, cool, whatever. That's not the point. Point is, Rodney Rude, his voice and the things, his inflections and this pitch that he had, it reminded me of my Uncle Tommy. So that made it even more endearing. But goddamn, that guy is funny. Oh, wait, I told a story. Yeah, I've talked about him before. Because I told why am I telling it now? But I had told the story, the Dawson's Creek story, where between takes, I pop off with Rodney Rude. My sister had this friend who had a baby, and the baby was born without any arms, legs, or a body. It was just a head. But it was a good-looking head. Anyway, it's his 9th birthday, and his father said, "Come here, Head, got a nice present for you." Head said, "It's not another fucking hat, is it?" Anyway, now Head's 14, and he's in a swimming tournament, which is funny in itself. That wasn't his line, but I added that when I would tell the story back and tell them totally that it was Rodney Rude. It wasn't me. I was not ripping anybody off. Anyway, he's in the swimming tournament. And they say, "On your blocks, get set, go." And he dived in and went straight to the bottom. And no one really paid any attention or took any notice of him. And finally, after a couple of minutes, someone rescued him, and he was really pissed off. And they said, "What happened, Head?" He said, "Oh, fuck, I got a cramp." Gets me every time just thinking about it. It's stupid. It's one of the greatest stupid jokes ever, man. Oh, fuck, I got a cramp. And then there's a third part of the bit where he bowls into the antler. And he bowls up to the bar. And that's when Rodney really gets into the voice. Now you gotta put a straw in it. Now put the straw in my mouth. Now get the cigarette out of my collar. Now put it in me mouth. Now light the bastard. He says, now, I fucked that up, but the end of it is, he says, now, do you have dart competitions at this hotel? The bartender says, yes. He says, well, get a dart and put it in my mouth. Feathers first. Now throw the fucking board at me. You ever notice I don't laugh at my own shit? I only laugh at other people's shit. That's how it should be. Hey, did you hear me, John? I'm sorry, I meant to say Mr. Super Talk. Whatever. He's never going to hear this. Of course he is, because he's, stalker. That's a joke. If he was stalking me, that would be... Anybody stalking me, Jesus Christ. The only reason to stalk me would to fucking cure a case of insomnia. So now I'm gonna have a whole bunch of stalkers. I know you motherfuckers can't sleep, some of you, because when you think of Bill Gates' world, hey, isn't it fun? Isn't it fun to hear? Well, I'm guessing as a whip. Well, see, I try to I try to expand the way I'm speaking to a friend, trying to think that this friend, meaning all of you, of course, but as we all know, there's going to be friends popping in and out, just like in life. So somebody who's new, who just might decide to go, hey, push play for the first time on hour 72, and of course, not go all the way back to the front. What are you, crazy? I try to, speak to them as well, obviously. I'm trying to make them run as fast as possible, too, It's just like family, isn't it? Yes! Okay. What was the fucking point? Vaccines. Some of you might not have people in your feed or might not watch mainstream things, but I guess, because I up until a few months ago, I had got no mainstream stuff news-wise was part of my day, unless it was just headlines on Yahoo, which then I would just go over to fucking Twitter, and they were already there. So Twitter's the best place to be as up-to-date as possible. And if you're like me, you might have a chunk at least, of friends who post a lot of shit about the whole Gates Foundation and the vaccine stuff. And it is crazy to I don't post any of that stuff, but I do pay attention to it, of course. And the Corbett Report, which I tell at the end of almost every podcast, I've told you to go to the James Corbett Report. You can get a lot of your... If you're wondering, if you just kind of blow it off, as I would understand, and not wanting to go too deep and thinking, it's as nefarious as it actually is, I understand that. But if you want to go, all right, let me take a little dip. That's why I tell you to go to Corbett Report, because the way he does it, he doesn't do it like Alex Jones, because the subject matter is somewhat similar because it's not mainstream. But it's in a way like he's your fucking history professor. So you can... James is a little bit on the dorky intellectual side, but I tell you what, take a little time and all the stuff that he's done, and you'll see, wow, this guy's been like 2 years ahead or more on just about everything. Point being, if you go to the Corbett Report on YouTube or his website, and this isn't an ad, this is just what I do, and and tell him where you heard it if you did hear, and you go and you enjoy it. He breaks the shit down. There's plenty of Gates stuff, and it's pretty trippy to contrast and compare when you're going down your Facebook feed and you've got a mom that posts, about the stuff that they're trying to do with the vaccine thing, which is ridiculous to me. I'm with them who say fuck the vaccine. Come on, you say you don't have a race to the cure is one of the fucking phrases, but for corona, but you tell it sunlight and keep don't touching your face and washing your hands all the time is a way to keep it away, but there's no cure. Hygiene isn't, and I'm not saying that there's no virus, and I'm not saying that there's not there's a lot of shit to read into, especially the numbers. Not saying there's no virus, but you should know that I think that it is all part of a swindle, and the swindle can be seen when you follow the money of who benefits from this. Same old thing, but you've heard it. Some have heard it from me. I don't want to repeat it. And I don't go into it too deep because I don't want to be thought of as a corporate report type. Well, because I'm not. I'm not James. James does a very good job at what he does. I'm doing a thing where I keep it fun. That's why I try to, as much as I am into those heavy-duty aspects of life, that's why this podcast is more about just fucking personal stories you can relate to, shooting the shit about this and that, and that's the fun part about this connection through online is you can compare and contrast way more stories than you used to be as time goes on, which is hopefully, I think it actually is, making the populace a bit smarter, especially in some areas than it used to be, which is a good thing because that makes us more connected. But I'm looking. Of course, right now I'm talking about the good side. There's two sides of that sword. The sword of being connected is, of course, the surveillance shit, which I don't like. But we do need to have that connection. Also, personally, but online as well too, because it's just more. It's like just going by the computer, accessing the information and breaking it down to see what goes where and what fits where quicker. And it's the same kind as us used to be, where you had to write a letter and it had to go across a fucking ship, across the ocean, and now it goes bang. Hello, Australia. Hello, Andrea. How's that Miller Lite sign doing? It's doing great. Rodney Rude was where I was. I see. You were wondering, is he ever going to get back to Rodney? But why did I bring up Rodney? What was the point of bringing up Rodney? Because I got into him because I was there. Uncle Tommy. What the fuck? What was the initial part? Let's see. Let's go through. Mushroom Man. Heather Locklear. Oh. That's why I wanted to. Oh, I didn't bring that part up. I'd have to tie that back around. Heather Locklear, when I thought of that Heather Locklear little funny line and I jotted down, wasn't it funny? Which is real. I hit that, and that's when it made me go, oh, make sure because of Heather Thomas, because Heather Thomas was in The Fall Guy. That's why I wanted to make sure. Oh, so get the fucking, because when you mention that, make sure you get to The Fall Guy because you've been putting it off. And, well, you're happy now, aren't you? Because you got to hear me sing. And now what you can do is with that little chunk, you can hit play and you can sing along with me, singing along with Lee. He rhymed. Fucking asshole. I truly didn't mean to, but I'm really good at it. System ain't broke. Works exactly how it's supposed to. That's why the Democrats always let the Republicans get what they want, but pretend that, oh, we're fighting for you, but they're not because they're all the same. It's a big wrestling show. I've said that before. I ever tell you this is the smallest click on the internet? Pinball brain in your favorite machine. I gotta do my taxes. How about the Marlins? It's unlocked Saturday, but you already knew that because I said it at the front, sort of, or not. Patreon.com/waning interest. Or is it Waning Interest Podcast? I forget. Which one is it? I don't have it in here. What an asshole. So before the, you can find it. The link is right there. It's in the description of wherever you're listening to the podcast. If you're listening on Apple, or if you're listening on Spotify, or if you're listening on TuneIn, or if you're listening on Laughable. Of course it's on Laughable. Why wouldn't it be on Laughable? For both reasons. I heard you. But wherever you see the podcast, or YouTube, and some others. But wherever you see it, the Patreon link is there. Come be a whip, please. Thank you. Right now, besides my $1,200 that I'm going to be taxed on all over again, or something like that. Whatever. What a joke. $1,200. There should be UBI. There should be healthcare for all, Medicare for all, healthcare, whatever, the whole thing. It should be like Canada, but better, because with looking at Canada and Australia and everywhere else that has healthcare for all, we could look at it and break it down and go, hey, we can even do it better because we are America and we're so great. But we still don't have it. And it's fucking May 10th, 2020. More crying about everybody going back and maybe getting everybody sick when you look at the numbers. The crying should be about no fucking UBI and no health care for all or Medicare for all, whatever the best version of that is, which can be... Yeah, I don't want to... Yeah. So I was listening back to Neil Rogers, who I've mentioned before on the podcast, Neil God, who I'm one of those handful of people that were lucky enough to cut our radio teeth with the god of radio, and he was. Fuck Howard Stern, I'm telling you. If you're shaking your head as someone who's actually never heard Neil, I suggest YouTube. Well, I think there's neilrogers.org, but it's Neil with an I, not an A. But there's Neil Rogers Radio or Neil Rogers Show on YouTube, and you can listen to a bunch of shit. Guess who gets a mention in many of them, especially from 94 through 97? That's me. I get some other mentions in later years, but there's I'm not going to look for them because... No, I haven't gotten there yet. Right now I'm in 94. I'm sorry, the end of 96. Some of you may have heard of Phil Hendry. I just listened to the show where, most of you have, if you've heard of Phil Hendry, know him from somewhere else, from Miami. But he used to follow Neil at WIOD from late 93, or was it early? No, it was early 90. It was mid 94 through late 96. 1994 to 96. Before that, he was part-time. And then did nights for a bit first, and then moved to the afternoons. He was on 2 to 6 after Neil. And it was the greatest 1-2 punch in radio history. Yeah, there's 2 great sports shows back to back, but they're all sports. Neil and Phil were 2 different shows, both just as compelling, but completely different. And the greatest right-left, right to the fucking to the solar plexus, right under the fucking ribs, and the left right across the jaw. Foom, foom. I had her twice. That's a bachelor party reference for all you bachelor party lovers. Or non-lovers, because the other lovers would have known. Whatever, moving on. But in the point being that I just got through listening to a show. What day? What was it? If you want to look it up. It is September 16th, 1996. Neil Rogers Show, September 16th, 1996. I'll try to remember to put the link. I'm so thoughtful. But a few months before that, we had been sold. IOD was owned by a company called Cox Broadcasting. And they sold us to Paxson Communications. But with the sale, everybody went Paxson, with the ownership taken over. Most people, a big chunk of people, except for Phil. Cox kept Phil, and he moved out to L.A., and that's when he went up on the bird, as they say. Got syndicated through Premier Radio Networks, where I worked with him again a few years later. And that's where most of the country got to know him even more than but IOD was where he first started blowing up. So in this hour, well, at the end of, I was midway through Neil's show on that day that I just told you that I'm not going to turn around and look back at because it's just so painful. It was really cool to hear that at the end of that one that I just gave you, what was it, September 16th? Yes, September 16th, 96. What's cool is at the end, you hear Phil calls in to clarify what he's done on his show, and then thinking that, that it's just a bunch of stuff. You get to hear a bunch of inside stuff that's really cool that wasn't as... These guys were the ones that made it, that inside shit, even cooler. That's why most shows, things that people watch now, have this inside thing where producers became more part of the show and there was more inside talk because it was, you let the people, a little more peek behind the curtain and that kind of, we were part of the beginning of that shit, man. Which got scary at times when you're part of it. You're like, ooh, I don't know if I want that part of me out on the air. That happened a lot, especially with the Ron and Ron show. But I will not I will not digress. And that is that, mister. But it's cool to hear. It was really cool to hear the two of them talk, because as in those 2 years we don't really have a lot of Neil and Phil on the air just talking. There's chunks here and there, because as soon as Neil got off, he was laughing his balls off driving home listening to Phil taking over, and so there's not a whole lot that we have on tape, but that was superb because it starts off so, oh shit, wait a minute, whoa, it's heavy. It's cool, especially because it ends cool. And it ended cool for me because, I don't know. No, but what you can say at the end of it is where they went and they fucking destroyed WIOD. Phil left. Rick and Suds lasted a couple more years with Paxson, but Paxson fucked everything up with Neil, and Neil was gone to QAM within a year. And who continued to be on the air, crushing the Miami market, AM, midday, until just before he fucking died. Neil. Phil continued to crush, and he's crushing right now. Phil is on, if you've watched Duncan Trussell's new show on Netflix, The Midnight Gospel, the computer that always trying to wake him up and all that stuff, that's Phil Hendry. And you might recognize that voice from, he's done a bunch of shit for King of the Hill, and he was in World America Team Police or Team America World Police, whatever the fuck the Trey Parker and Matt Stone movie was back in the day. Phil's done a bunch of shit, but he blasted off at WIOD in Miami. I mean, he was doing great in Minnesota before, and his whole shtick was really gathering steam, but it really clicked in Miami, and having a lead in like fucking Neil Rogers, and his numbers were so great before the sale, and it's just, I fucking destroyed a guy. I forgot tissues. I forgot tissues. But one of the other shows, right before that one, there was one with, I don't want to get into that, one of his, Caprita. There's too many stories with Caprita, because I don't know, it's a trip. Maybe I'll go back to it. But have you watched The Midnight Gospel? If you haven't, please do. It's on Netflix. It's so trippy and it's so cool. Most of the audio is taken from Duncan Trussell's podcast, the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, which, if you've not listened to, I highly suggest. I suggest the Duncan Trussell Family Hour just as much as I suggest Rodney motherfucking Rude. Oh, I never finished the Rodney Rude thing, did I? Well, did I? Where was I? Was I going somewhere else with it besides that's where I got into it? It was in Australia. And then I told the story a couple of podcasts ago about Dawson's Creek, Michelle Williams. What was the point, Uncle Tommy? This is the fun part of the show. I just need some music behind me, but who would want to follow this shit? I would, because I'm a bass player, and it would be dun 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 dun. Whatever. I'm not going to do it, though, because I'm a lazy twat. What? You know who the voice of the Waning Interest podcast is? It's Joe Cruz, cruzvo.com, CRUISEVO.com. That's who you hear at the beginning of the show, at the open. And that's who you hear on the promos. He's a badass, and if you got anybody that wants a voice to do a show, or if you've got a show, or anything else like that, go to Joe. All right, that's enough of a commercial. Wait. Because that's the power of the Waning Interest podcast. No ads. It's just for my peebles. What was next? I'm just looking through my list, man. And that's where all the... Oh, did I tell you to watch The Midnight Gospel? Just kidding. Am I? But what I am going to say is, hold on, please. Miss Daisy, I had make water. I don't know if you noticed the little break there, but boy, that was quick, wasn't it? Whew. Blink of an eye, just like life. But as I was sitting there making water, yes, I said, when I'm home, I realized, yes, movie quotes. That's what I wanted to say. Especially after giving out the email before, waninginterestpodcast@gmail.com. Movie quotes. Email your favorite movie quotes, and I'll do my best to replicate them. So then, to see whether or not when you listen back, when you hear me do them, your favorite quotes, you probably already do them pretty cool. And then you hear me do them, and then you've got the original. See how far we split the middle. You know, from the bad to me, the good. I mean the good, I mean the bad, the good, the be. You know what I meant. I meant me being bad, right? Yes, of course. Shh, I will. So send me movie quotes. That was one thing. My kid, like I said, I was talking to my kid, my goat. And she recently watched Porky's. And one of my favorites, she does a podcast about 80s movies with her mom. And Porky's lines, they're just... Remember when they're first in Porky's and Meat and Pee-wee are at one end of the bar / stage, and the older lady is jiggling her tits, but they're covered in front of Pee-wee, and she says, "You want to see him?" And he says, "Yeah, sure." And she says, "2." And he goes, "Yeah, let's see them both." But the way Meat, who's standing right next to him, or her, or don't do the gender thing. The way Meat just says, she means it'll cost you $2 to see him, stupid. Just the way he says that. Excuse me. Or the fuck, man, the scene with Bob Bricker and the 2 gym coaches, Boyd Gaines, who went on to be on One Day at a Time. I believe he married Barbara. What? And then Eric Christmas, the principal, and the whole thing with he can't even say penis, and he said tallywhacker. But the 2 coaches breaking down, if you remember the scene about that, she's like, she wants to put out like an APB for a dick. Yes, it had a mole on it. I've got an idea. We put up wanted signs. Have you seen this prick? It was last seen loitering in the Angel Beach High School girls' locker room. Do not try to apprehend this prick, for it may be armed and dangerous. It was last seen hanging out in the girls' locker room at Angel Beach High School. Oh, God, that fucking scene. And that is after, of course, the scene where everybody's cracking up because he's dorking fucking Lassie upstairs with a jock in her mouth because that's what she was into. Hey, it was the 80s. Why the fuck did my cigarette go out? It's only audio, so I have to have a Clint Eastwood moment. Right? Yeah. Man with no motherfucking name. Oh, did I ever tell you that actually I had like, what was it? There were some films that I was in. There's 3 short films that I was in. I think they were the back to back to back. I think they were all. Anyway, the point is, you never heard my name. Even though I was the lead, my name was never said. So I used to have this joke about, look, I've got my own version of the spaghetti westerns. Even though I'm one of the lead characters, nobody ever actually says my name. And you see it written, or somebody else says it, or something. But I don't know what it was, but what was that? It wasn't The Last Hand, because I was Trish. So we knew that because Larry kept saying it, and that was a joke. Trish. I love that so much. What I did was, see, when Luke wrote that shit, The Last Hand, one of the earliest web series, me and Larry Hankin, if you search it, I've put the link up before. But one of the things I don't think I've said before is when he wrote the character, for me, excuse me, I'm scratching my motherfucking back. He didn't give Trish, I just thought it was a cool, funny name. And in my, what was my name in the film that I did with him before, his thesis for USC? What the hell was, not Schmidt. What the hell was my character's name? Oh, but that's one of the ones I think that's never actually said. What the hell was my name in Professor's Daughter? Oh my gosh, maybe it'll come to me. But anyway, because The Last Hand to me was like a cross between, in my head, The Matrix and Back to the Future. Go check out all 6 episodes. The 6th one is a little hard to find. Got to go to Marilyn Van Michaels, but whatever. But because I saw it that way, I decided, because it sounded good, and because I actually worked with a Trish Anderson, I sort of made it like the Vincent Vega, the whole Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs thing, Michael Madsen, John Travolta, them supposed to be in the Vega brothers. Sort of like the Anderson twins, but even both of them were named Trish, because I worked with a Trish Anderson who has passed, a lady early in my radio career, and she was actually a guest speaker at my radio school before I got my first gig. But I always thought it was a cool name, and she was good on the air, Trish Anderson. Neo. His last name is Mr. Anderson. So there was eventually in The Last Hand supposed to be a part where instead of Larry supposedly maybe being God or whoever he's telling Trish he is, instead of calling me Trish, at one point he was supposed to say, Mr. Anderson. It was supposed to be a little joke towards Matrix and Inside. And both, man, depth. I'm talking deep. What was the point? The Last Hand. Movie quotes. That was where it started. But, oh, no, dude. No, seriously, there was another thing. I'm missing something. I'm forgetting something, and I don't want to go back because, that's how I is. I lost my other ear. Is somebody stoned? Shh. Should we stretch this? Should I do a whole other hour for Patreon? Maybe. Because I was going to talk about... Oh, I did. All right. Movie quotes. I did want to mention Don Shula. RIP. Just passed. I worked for the Dolphins for a couple of years. Because IOD, we were the flagship. That's enough of that. Well, what I did, one of the reasons I brought up The Last Hand was Larry Hankin, who was absolutely told me. I did a podcast where there's Nate the Bullet, where I interviewed him as 2 parts. Dude was almost Kramer. But then they brought him back on Seinfeld to play Kramer in the pilot that Jerry and George sold. And there's that episode where Larry does... Anyway, Larry's done a bunch of shit. I'm from Home Alone. I'm from a bunch of shit. Well, there was one point where it was the question I had before I took a break with this podcast. I was like, wait, I heard about El Camino. Is Larry going to be in it? Boom! Wasn't it cool to see Larry in El Camino? I know I'm a little late because I haven't recorded since, but it was pretty cool. But I found the movie disappointing. Just like, I think most people. But I think what they're going to do to help fix that shit, kind of like how Star Wars is done, used the Clone Wars, even though I don't watch it. But that newer shit where they're filling in blanks and stuff and making the prequels even seem a little better with the storyline, where they're kind of fixing it as they go along. I think the final season of Better Call Saul, one of the things they're going to attempt, because they're very smart, is to use that not only to crush the final season of Better Call Saul, especially in a way to where it crashes into the Breaking Bad universe, but also do some things to help sort of fix El Camino, which to me, one of them is the bad guy we weren't invested enough in the bad guy. Even though there were two bad guys, there was Todd and there was the guy that built the fucking chain thing that Jesse was tied to. But that guy, see, we were thrown by both of them. We were thrown, most people, especially big fans like me, we were thrown by Todd's weight, of course, which, come on, dude, you couldn't have lost that weight. You know it's coming. Atkins diet, Jesus. And then the other guy, of course, that Jesse blows away later on, we weren't invested enough in him. So if that guy had been, if that antagonist for Jesse had been, if we had more invested in him from somebody from the actual Breaking Bad universe, somebody that we knew a little bit more, I think a lot of us would have looked past the Todd weight issue. It would have made that a lot smaller. Point being, of course, that if Peter and Vince are smart, which they are, I think they're going to do something. We're going to end up seeing that dude in the final season of Better Call Saul, which should crush. And who knows who we're going to see. Who else we're going to see. I just don't want to see Jesse's parents. I'm done with them. Who I do want to see is little brother, but we can't. It's been fucking 13 years since we've seen that little shit with the weed that sucked. So Jesse just smeared it into the cement. And a lot of people got sad at that moment, and can you blame them? But he said it was skunk weed. And it was Jesse. But The Last Hand, to go back to The Last Hand and Larry, one of the things I wanted to mention was one of the things that was so cool that seemed like it was on the horizon that didn't end up happening. Larry's worked with a certain guy who's really fucking funny in all the Christopher Guest movies. He's been in a bunch of shit. You know him from the original version of Roseanne towards the end of that first run. You know him from a bunch of shit, SCTV. Fred Willard was almost in The Last Hand. And he would have been Larry's nemesis, and I would have been stuck in the middle. Which was going to be so fun. But you know what happened right around then? Look up the only bad news about Fred Willard. So that kind of went... I'm not going to go into it. That is yours on your own for you to look up, but it'll be something that, it does relate to how I started talking about Neil Rogers. They tried to railroad Neil Rogers into something very similar, so if you look up both of them, I'm expecting you all to be like Indiana Jones. I already know that some of you are. That's why you're whips, part of the Waning Interest podcast back, and, oh my God, what happened? Did you just take some Adderall? Maybe. No, I didn't. I don't do that shit. Don't like it. I'm just cramming shit in because, I want to hit that fucking post. Thank you, Kimba. I don't know, when you ramble, but then sometimes you have to take such a breath where it seems like you make it all go boom, boom, zam, zam, but no, then you bring it back and you go, hey, Billy Gibbons? Why did I want to talk about Billy Gibbons? I don't know, something about Phil Hendry. Maybe we'll get back to it. Because there's going to be future podcasts, because I'm definitely going to drink again. Like right now. See what I'm saying? Watch Redacted tonight, the Corbett Report, Jimmy Dore Show, Kim Iverson, Kyle Kalinske, Abby Martin. Look for yourself. I'm just here to be a fun babbling lecturer. Remember, we're all Neo, AK1. Sorry, ran long. Had to bump comedian Mike Chupa. Thanks, Chupa. You're a whip. Thanks, Gary. You know what? I went so fast I forgot to say, Daddy loves you.